What's up, guys? Welcome to Riverpark. Thanks for joining our online experience today. You're watching our most recent live experience. If you want to catch us the next time we're live every single Sunday at 9 a.m. You can join us here online, or you can check our experience out at one of our campuses. We want to get to know you, so if you're not yet connected, you can either click the Get Connected link or text the word Riverpark to 97000. We hope this experience blesses you today and hope to see you soon.
What's up, Riverpark? Good morning. We're so excited that you guys are here today. Join us in worship today. No shame, no fear, no more condemnation. Freedom is
impossible ever stopped you. Friday's disappointment, Sunday's empty tomb. Since when has impossible ever stopped you? This is the sound of dry bones rattling. This is the praise making dead man walk again. Open the grave, I'm coming out. I'm gonna live again. Yeah, this is the sound of dry bones rattling. Rattling. Pentecost, come on, Pentecostal fire, stirring something new. You're not gonna run out of miracles anytime soon. Resurrection power runs in my veins too, yeah. I believe there's another miracle here in this room. This is the sound of the rifle rattling. This is the praise making dead man walk again. Open the grave, I'm coming out. I'm gonna live again. This is the sound of the rifle rattling. Come on, make some noise in this house today, come on. My God is able to save and deliver and heal and restore anything that He wants to. Just ask the man who was thrown on the bones of Elisha if there's anything that He can do. Just ask the stone that was rolled at the tomb in the garden what happened when God said no. I feel Him doing now. I feel Him doing now. I feel Him doing now. Do it now. Do it now. This is the sound of dry bones rattling. This is the praise making dead man walk again. Open the grave, I'm coming out. I'm gonna live again. Open the grave, I'm coming out. I'm gonna live again. Open the grave, I'm coming out. I'm gonna live again. This is the
and close your eyes. God, we are so thankful for your life. We are so thankful for your freedom. And Father God, today I thank you that you begin to show us how to walk out your life, how to walk out your freedom. God, your word said, who the Son sets free is free indeed. You've come to set us free this morning, Jesus. You've come to set us free this morning, Jesus. Come on, if there's something in your life that you need freedom over, He's here. He's here right now. Oh, you've come to bring freedom. Come to bring liberty, Jesus. Can you just take a second and thank Jesus for His freedom this morning? Come on, thank Him for His freedom. God, we thank you for your freedom, for your liberty. Jesus, we love you. Oh, we love you, Jesus. Oh, we love you, Jesus. There's no one like you, none beside you. You're beautiful. You're beautiful. You are the Word at the beginning, one with
Happy Father's Day and welcome to Riverpark. We're so glad you're here with us today. And if you're a first-time guest or have been with us for a while and want to get connected, please text the word Riverpark to 97000 to help you get plugged in, learn about all the amazing things that are happening up at the park, and help us get to know you better. If you're wondering what's going on here at the park, because there's always a lot going on, you can text the word keep up to that same number or visit our app or website to keep up with us. Another way to be connected to us is to join our Discover sessions, which are now available online, and you can check out our app or website to find out more about it. And just in case you missed it, Students is back on Sunday nights, aka RSN. And if you have any questions, feel free to grab one of our student leaders who are wearing white lanyards and will answer any questions you have, or you can visit the app or the website for more information. We hope that you enjoyed worship because we're already having such a wonderful time here at Riverpark. Our hope is that you continue experiencing God. And thank you for joining us today, and welcome to Riverpark.
Welcome to the park, everybody. Good morning. Honored to have you with us today. It's already a great experience, and we are so glad that you guys came out to join us for it. To all of the dads in the room, happy Father's Day, y'all. Let's give our dads a great big hand. Delighted to have you with us, and we're going to honor a couple of you here in just a second. But before we do that, all of our Riverpark family, delighted to have you here today. We hope you've had a blessed week, and we hope this day blesses you even more. To all of our guests, we are so excited that you came out to join us today, and we look forward to connecting with you this week. If it's your first time at the park, would you do this for us? Would you just text the word Riverpark to 97000? We want to send you some information this week about how you can get involved and connected here at Riverpark, and that will help us stay in touch with you as well. We look forward to getting to know you guys. Thanks for being here. All right, dads, we get a special opportunity today to honor some of you, a couple of you at least in this experience. The world would not go round without dads. There might not even be much of a world without dads when you get right down to it. And so we just want to take a second out and honor a couple of you today, just a little token of appreciation and honor for what you do as dads. So I've got a couple of gift cards to Academy Sports and Outdoors here, and we are going to hand those out to a couple of lucky dads if my trusty assistant Brian will come. Why don't we do this? I'm like trying to see through the lights here, but right here in blue, I think this is Edgar. Edgar, happy Father's Day, man. I want to give that to you. And then I see way in the back, Chief Van Zant. We honor you today. Happy Father's Day, Chief. Thanks for all you do to serve here at the park and serve your family. Guys, jump up on your feet. We got about 30-45 seconds as they get set for today's time of teaching in Scripture. Greet somebody that you haven't met yet. Give them a fist bump, a distance hello, and we're going to continue with our experience here in just a moment.
Good morning, everybody. What's up? Howdy, howdy. How about it? Those of you that are watching online today, all the way from Ethiopia to Alexandria. How you like that contrast? Happy Father's Day to you. Happy Father's Day to you, Sean. To all of you that are in the house today, people that are watching online, I so wish you could be here with us today, because each week we've been addressing the elephant in the room. And you know, we've got racial tension, we've got political tension, and we here at Riverpark, we don't run from it, we run to it. Not that we get on one side or the other, we want peace. Amen. We want the God of peace in our world. We want the kingdom mentality, and we pray. We pray that God brings peace to our world. We're on God's side. And if God is for us, say it with me, who can be against us? So those of you that are watching online, those of you that are here today, thank you so much for being part of it. Today, we choose to leave the elephant in the room. Now, what that means is we're going to be irrelevant. I know it's Father's Day. I can do that. It's just time to do that. And so I want to talk about several things today. I've got a special guest that's going to join me on stage here today. In fact, two of them. Both of them are special. One of them is uniquely special. And so I'm excited about having my dad here with us today, and my mom, my brother-in-law and sister, and their family, at least part of it here today. And so many of our first-time guests that are here as well. And so I'm really excited about the way God has set this up for us today. So I thought it would be great, since it's Father's Day. Most of the time on Mother's Day, we honor mothers and we preach about how wonderful they are. And then when Father's Day comes around, we preach how bad you are and you need to get some things straight in your life. And I'm not going to do that to you, because I'm in charge up here today. And so I'm gonna bless you with some corny jokes. You have to get into dad jokes, because dad and corny jokes are synonymous. Dad jokes and corny jokes are synonymous. So as a grandfather and as a father, you kind of morph into humor, because I think some of the humor you develop through the years is based on circumstances. You deal with your stress, you deal with financial sometimes devastation by just being funny, by marital strain, by just being funny. I remember my wife, when we first got married, she had this problem. She was raised in Houston, where you just read signs and you go where they point you. And in Louisiana here, where I was raised, in the redneck country, you just know where the sun is at all times, and it's either on your left shoulder, your right shoulder, your front or your back, so you know north from south from, you know what I'm saying. My wife had no sense of direction, and she would often get north mixed up with south, and east with west, and left with right, and all those things. It got so bad one day, I corrected her so much. And how many of you guys know that always correcting your wife, even when you're right, you're wrong? And so it got so bad, and I offended her so bad about her direction, she packed her bag and right. And it bothered me. It bothered me so bad, I stood at the base of the stairs and thought about climbing them, and I thought, you never know what they're up to, so I changed my mind about that, and I just kind of hung around and just seen her reaction, and things got better, and that was 41 years ago. So we morph into these humor circumstances, and we just tell jokes, and we make fun of ourselves even. My kids are sort of in this, my grandkids, there's 8, number 8's on the way, and our oldest is 8. So during the COVID-19, my son-in-law and daughter in Baton Rouge have been gathered around the TV watching old Andy Griffith shows. Now, if you didn't grow up on Andy Griffith, there's a lot of morals that can be taught there. It's almost theology. And so my son-in-law is introducing all my grandkids there. There's 3 boys and a girl. The oldest grandchild we have is 8. And so they're sitting on the couch watching. They're just on a binge of Andy Griffith. And the youngest grandkid is 1.5 years old. His name is Chapel, and he's sitting on the couch, and they're all watching, like, I don't know what episode they're on of Andy Griffith. And you know how it starts off? And good and all that, and then it says, and today starring Andy Griffith and Ronnie Howard, and also starring Don Knotts. And they're in the middle of that piece of the show, and the 1.5 year old says, Don Knotts. They don't even know he can even say it. And he screams out, "Don Knotts!" And then they get him to do it again, and they capture it on video. So it's this incredibly awesome moment of this whole thing about joking and having fun in times of crisis and even in COVID-19. And so today I thought, well, I would sell some pizza jokes, but they're cheesy. And so I just go to dad jokes. And I mean, you'd rather have corn than cheese, right? So we're gonna deal with that and take it as it comes. But as one of the things that's interesting to me is how we dads get caught in the store with the marketeers really understand how we think. For instance, I can't go to Lowe's or Home Depot or Walmart or Tractor Supply without buying a new flashlight. And I don't need another flashlight. And for a while it was Velcro, but then I realized that's just a ripoff. And so I got back to flashlights. And I was the flashlight deal. But look, I know flashlights are bad, and we guys just buy them whether we need them or not. But during COVID-19, my wife got that way about hand sanitizer. It's like every time she would order it from here and order from there. And I remember one night during COVID-19, we were watching Pride and Prejudice. And how many of you guys have watched Pride and Prejudice? 5 times. 20? Yeah, that's what I thought. Because you know how it turns out, and it's a good thing. It's not good at first, and you have to endure it, but it can turn into some great things. Pride and Prejudice is a great movie. And so we're watching it, and I don't remember the part where Will Smith comes out or Mel Gibson or Danny Glover. I don't remember those tough times, but I know it's a good movie. And we're in the middle of watching it, and it's the end of it, and I'm kind of yawned and put my arm around the sofa back, and it's just kind of one of those moments, and the credits are rolling, and there's still a glint of a tear in her eye, and so I take the back of my hand and I start just rubbing her cheek gently, and again, it's a moment. It's COVID-19. It's just us. We've been shut up for 2 months, and well, she hasn't shut up for 2 months. We've been shut up for 2 months, and so I'm just rubbing the back of my hand to her cheek, and she says something, and it sounds kind of romantic, and I said, "Say again." No, I'm sorry. I said, "Say again." And she said, "Did you use hand sanitizer?" No, I'm joking. It wasn't that bad. As a kid growing up, my parents are here today. I always gave them misery. And again, humor. Solomon said, and I want to put that scripture up because this is where Solomon says in Proverbs 17:22, "A cheerful heart is good medicine." Those of you that are watching online, be sure and capture this. Proverbs 17:22, "A cheerful heart is good medicine, but a broken spirit saps a person's strength." So I don't want to sap your strength today. I want you to find joy in everything that we're doing. And so my parents had to find joy in some of the things I was doing as a kid. As a kid growing up, I don't know how many times I broke my nose. And I know there's some people that say that you pick your nose. But I was born with mine. And then some of you can really say you pick your nose till you picked your nose. In fact, it's so bad that you picked the nose you wanted, and if anybody just walks by about whatever you're doing and you say, "Good job," they get offended. Tomorrow you'll get it. Re-listen to it. It's a great. So I remember I broke my nose so many times, and then in school that they had to deal with that, and it was either a fight or football or a baseball hit me between the eyes and then they introduced the mini trampoline to high school. Well, it was actually junior high, 7th grade when I started there. And I did a backflip off of the mini trampoline and broke my neck. And it's amazing how what can go through your mind, because there's this beautiful 7th grader that I fell in love with in midair. I was heels over head in love with her. And doing a backflip, and I realized this could be the woman I marry. I don't even remember her name now, but at that moment, it was serious. And I ended up breaking my neck and had to wear a neck collar, it seems like forever, and I haven't looked back since. So it was a great day to learn about fixing things and how to have humor in all of the things you do. And it's so bad, I made so many mistakes. One year for Christmas, Dad and Mom gave me this double eraser pencil. And I thought, what's the point? I don't get this. And so today I thought it would be good if we get my dad up here with us on stage, and maybe he'll tell you some stories that I haven't told you. He's the guy who told me that there was a farmer that won all these awards, so many awards in his community, that they built him a whole room to put his trophies up. And so that question comes back from whoever you're telling this to. Well, what did he get awards for? And my dad would say, because he was outstanding in his field. It's the same dad told me that you should never spoil a cow, you should never pamper a cow because they will provide for you spoiled milk. And so without any further ado, I want to bring my dad, my friend, my pastor, your friend today, a guest of this audience, Leland Briggs, to the stage with my son, Marcus. Come on up, Dad. Give him a hand. Laughter does good like a medicine. So I want to talk to you today about some important things relative to this whole idea, this generational blessing. The Bible mentions Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. We also find Peter, James, and John. These are followers and disciples of Jesus. We also find in the Old Testament Elijah and Elisha. Remember those two names that we often get inverted and we get mixed up? And Elisha says, I'm not going to let you go. I'm not going to leave you until you bless me and until I get a double portion. And so Elijah is caught up in a fiery chariot, and his mantle or his legacy falls, and Elijah captures it. And if you study the life of Elijah in a literal linear sense, you will find that Elijah performed twice as many miracles, or had twice as many miracles happen in his life as Elisha. And so it's pretty interesting, the power of a generational blessing. So Dad, this is for you today. All the humor, all the corny jokes, the cheesy jokes, all the stuff is for you. And I want you to leave here today encouraged. I want you to leave here being blessed, because I believe a blessed father can change our world. I really believe that. I really believe blessed fathers can change our world. So Dad, we're glad you're here today. Glad you and Mom made it. And I'm going to stand right here so I don't get out of the camera, because we got a lot of people watching online. And I'm so delighted that you're here. And I want you to know you haven't heard from me today. And usually on Father's Day, I call my dad, and he's one of the first calls that I make. And then I call my father-in-law, and I wish him happy Father's Day. I do that on his birthday as well. So, and I just want to tell you how much I love you and I appreciate you. And I couldn't go online and pick an ideal dad any more than I've organically been born from your loins, and I'm grateful for that. Thank you, Mom. Thank you. Amen. So I know this is a unique situation, and I don't want to put you on the spot, but perhaps there's some stories that you want to tell on me today. Now, I do. This is where I get my paycheck from, so don't.
Right. I'll go easy.
Please.
Go easy.
How old are you? First of all, tell these folks how old you are.
85.
Great.
I don't feel it, but that's what they tell me.
Does that mean you feel older or younger?
Younger. Right.
So, you know what I'd like for you to start with? Why don't you start, and I want the people online to hear this as well, our campus. And we have a whole campus online of people that are watching. Literally, at the end of the week, thousands of people watch what happens here on Sunday. So I want you to tell everybody, those here and those online, tell them about when you were born, because your birth story is one of Louisiana style. I mean, born in East Central Louisiana. I believe that's the best way to say that.
Catahoula Parish.
Catahoula Parish. Anybody here even know where Catahoula Parish is? Yeah, there's a few folks here. So why don't you tell a little bit about the day you were born, what time of the year it was, etc.
Well, it was May the 16th of 1935, and I was born in Catahoula Parish. If any of you knew then, of course, the post office that was there then is not there now, but it was called Book, Louisiana, and my aunt was the postmistress. I was born in a cypress picket house. And we didn't have any electricity, any gas, and water was probably from a water tank on the edge of the house.
Called a cistern, right?
Called a cistern.
It's the opposite of a brethren. It's female water
Now,
tank.
the cistern mostly was underground or lower, and the tanks were up higher or elevated more, had better drainage that way. But I was born in that cypress picket house, and when my dad got ready to go get it was a time of high water in Catahoula Parish, and the midwife lived probably, I'd say a half a mile from where we lived. When my dad started getting in the boat to go get her, he didn't have any money, but he had one silver dollar to his name. When he started to get in the boat to go pick her up, he dropped that silver dollar, and he never found it. So maybe somewhere in Catahoula Parish, there may be a silver dollar underground, but it'd be laying there for about 85 years now. But so I wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth, but I was born to a loving family. And God blessed us through the years. There was 6 of us, 4 boys and 2 girls, and we had a great mother and dad, and they always taught us right, and they believed in God, and they believed in going to church, and they taught us right from wrong, and most of all, honesty in everything that we did. And we didn't have much, but we had love, and the presence of God was with us. And then in later years, when we received the Holy Ghost, and God began to add to our family, well, the Lord called me to the ministry. And so He blessed.
Let me stop you there just a minute, because I want to go back and capture something that's important.
Okay.
And what I want us to see here is how joy can come from a situation, because you've told me stories about 2 cousins that were playing, and one of them, they were playing cowboy,
Mm-hmm.
and one of them shot, picked up a live gun with ammunition,
right,
and shot the other one. It was actually twins, is that correct?
No, there was a couple of years difference in their age.
Anyway,
they were playing with a friend,
right,
and they were playing cowboy, and they lined up and just playing. They didn't realize the pistol was loaded, but it was. So he snapped it on my 2 cousins standing there together, and it killed both of them.
And so your family had to deal with that.
That's right.
I'm sure, knowing how tight our family is, and it didn't happen just from your and mom generation, but it was already a close-knit family.
Right.
Because your dad was of how many boys in his family?
There was 4 boys or 5 boys, I believe, and 4 girls.
Yes. And your dad's dad got his education, if I remember right, by his dad taking him to the courthouse, right, and sitting and hearing attorneys argue points to judges, and,
right,
and in court. He would sit there while he went to work during the day, right?
Right.
That's where he got his education.
Right. He was born an orphan. He was an orphan, and the people that raised him, the dad, the man, would take he and his brother to the courthouse if they had court going on. And his wife said, "Why do you want to take those boys down there just to hear the court situations?" He said, "That's one of the best educations they can get. They learn a lot from just seeing trials and court cases and what have you." So he was born, he and his brother, just raised as an orphan. But he also taught his children right. And I remember even from the time I was very small, that I always honored him and reverenced him, and learned a lot of good things from him.
He was a pretty smart man, right?
He was. Yeah. That's right. That's right. He was.
And then I want to keep digging here, because I know a lot of people think, with a person like yourself that has a lot of joy, there is something to be said for joy in joyous circumstances. There's another thing to be said for joy when there's no reason for joy. And,
Right.
I remember also you telling me a story that saddened my heart when I heard about your cousin that drowned. Did he drown in Black River or?
Tensas River.
Tensas River. So if you just give us a brief synopsis of that.
If I remember right, he was 11 years old, and they lived on the Tensas River. And he loved to fish, and he had him some trot lines set out. And he went out one day to run those lines, but he was only 11 years old, which was very dangerous in our day to think of an 11-year-old out in a boat by himself. But that's where he was raised, and that's what he was used to. But he went out to run his lines, and my aunt looked out, and she didn't see him. Then she saw the empty boat, and she knew something then. So then, to just make a long story short, my grandfather and grandmother were visiting them that day, and they came to visit them. And they didn't know anything because...
Excuse me just a minute, Dad.
Okay.
Production team, if there's something that I just want to make sure that everybody can see this, and I'm moving around. If you have, please, my permission, at least one of you come up here and maneuver us the way we want, because I see him in a shadow, and I just want to make sure our online audience is seeing him correctly. All right? I'm sorry.
Okay, what I was saying was my grandmother and grandfather drove up to visit them just right after my aunt had looked out and saw the empty boat. So needless to say, there was a search on, and a lot of people upset and crying and what have you. And my grandmother had heart problems. She was in her 60s, but she had heart problems. She died there on the bank of the river that day.
So it's like it can't get any worse, and then it gets worse.
That's right.
So how did your family deal with that? You said y'all were church going. If I remember right, you told me y'all belonged to the Methodist church during those times. In fact, my grandfather was a lay minister in the Methodist movement, correct?
Right, right.
So y'all dealt with it. Do you remember a pastor being there? Or was it more you took care of yourselves and found joy in the middle of that?
More or less we did. And with one another.
Yes.
With a lot of love in the family among
Yes.
uncles and aunts and grandparents. And so just everybody loved one another, and there was healing in that.
Right. There is. So then let's go back. What is it, Marcus? How old are you? 37, 38? 37. So let's go back to March 37 years ago. Do you remember the day when your first grandson was born?
I sure do.
Marcus, do you remember that?
I don't actually.
But we was so happy for him, and just thankful for you all too that the Lord gave you such a beautiful gift.
I'm going to shift you. Just hang on.
Okay. Now I could say a lot of things about him, but he's been a great grandson, and we're grateful and we're thankful. Anything we need, he's right there for us. He's always been respectful, considerate, kind to us. And I will add to this, too, the Lord blessed him with a beautiful wife.
Amen.
And we're thankful for that, and a great wife. You know, I was telling my wife recently, I'll add a little bit more, Mark, to this. I was telling my wife, we were discussing us being here today, and I mentioned the fact of how thankful I was that, or we were, that you had married such a great person as LaQuita, and from a great family as she was.
No sense of direction.
And then the Lord gave it to you, though. And then the Lord gave you a son and two daughters, and they were just beautiful and special. And Mark was more like our son than he was our grandson. And God blessed you with a great wife, and then how he turned around and blessed our daughter with a great husband. And God has added to our family the joys and the peace and the happiness that goes along with it. So we're grateful for our grandchildren.
Marcus, talk back. Any questions you want to ask Papa here, or tell stories? Maybe we'll tell some stories on him.
Oh man. What's interesting about my grandpa is what's interesting about my grandpa is that I've only seen him angry one time, ever,
And I really mean that. And people have given him I've given him plenty of reasons to be angry, but I've only seen him angry one time, and it's because I almost killed my sister. And literally, y'all were on the back of a bush hog, which I don't know how safe that is, actually. If you don't know what that is, we didn't have it cranked, in case you were wondering. And I was driving the tractor. I think I was only like 7 or 8 years old. I was driving the tractor, and my grandpa was standing on the bush hog, and Marla was standing on the bush hog, my sister. And I knew then that you could pop the clutch on a tractor and make that front end come off the ground. And so I wanted to scare them really, really good. And I popped the clutch. That front end came down. The back of the bush hog slammed down. And if you've ever been on a farm, you've heard that loud noise of that metal rattling against the earth. And all of a sudden that happens. And Marla goes, "Oh, my God!" Just starts screaming. And my grandpa, trying to get hold of the situation. Y'all, we've never seen this happen ever. My grandpa goes, "Shut up, Marla." Just like that. And Marla and I both stopped. I turned off the tractor, and we just looked at each other like, that was a cuss word. Like, for my grandpa to say that, it's the only time I've ever in my life seen him mad and come out that way. And it was absolutely amazing. I remember, though, all the time, I discovered what coveralls were because of my grandpa. And this is why I think I think this adds to the joy is I remember you going to funeral after funeral. I remember one morning we were over for the summer, and you left that morning to go to a visitation with a family. You came back because we had to feed the cows or something like that, and you had a funeral that night, I think. And so instead of changing out of your clothes, all he did was come home, put coveralls over the top of that suit that he was wearing, walked out, fed the cows. I went with him, came back in, unzipped the coveralls, ate something real fast, and went back. And I think, we learned this throughout all of our family, but what I discovered in that time is I discovered the joy of work during that time from you, Papa, is that you weren't discouraged that you were busy. You weren't discouraged that you had to go stop this for that or anything else. You just put some coveralls on and kept rolling.
Thank you. Amen. Amen. And Dad, what have you learned through the years about leaving a kid unattended in a pickup truck at the post office, I might add?
Okay, here goes. I don't remember how old Marcus was. Probably maybe 3, 4, somewhere like that. He and Marla and Mandy all used to love to come visit with us. So we were in my pickup one night, and we went to the post office, just Marcus and me. We went to the post office, and I was a chaplain for the sheriff's department, and I had a sheriff's radio in my truck. And when I pulled up to the post office, there were some men there looking for direction. And I had just talked to the chief of police close by. Those men needed some direction, and I said, well, let me get on my radio, and I'll see what I can find out. But in the meantime, I had got out of the truck and forgot I had left it running. And before I could get back in it, I saw that truck start going backwards. I looked, Marcus was there at the steering wheel, But somehow he popped it in reverse. I was wrong by leaving it running with him in it, but I found that out. But I left it. Somehow he got it in reverse. I got in time to stop him, but not before he backed into a flagpole and did a little damage to the truck. It wasn't much, but thank the Lord for the flagpole. And thank the Lord I got in the truck fast enough.
I think that was just the first time, because you talk about generational things happening, because later, not too many years later, I put another car in drive and drove it into your office.
You sure did.
That's right. So I got a bad history going on here.
Well, the first time it's understandable, you were 2 years old when you ran over the flagpole. You were 5 when you ran into the church, so...
I had a grudge.
Yeah.
It's hurt.
There's so many memories, and I'm sitting here today, and I'm looking at the clock that I have to work with relative to our online audience, as well as you that are here today, and then getting ready for our next experience that happens here on campus. And I think of so many things that I want to share with you, and I want him to share with you. But Dad and Marcus, you might lead this off, and then we'll you just pitch it to Daddy. But what are some things, if you're talking and advising fathers here, key elements that you see in a whole generation? Because here's the thing, and where I want to wrap this up today, is that it's easy to look at other families. And first of all, there's some great men in this house. In fact, Bart and I were talking about it backstage. This church, I believe it was Bart and I, this church is blessed with a lot of good men, and I'm grateful for that.
That's right.
Actually, it was Pastor Jeremy and I were talking about that, and I see we shouldn't take that for granted. And I look at so many of your lives and your legacy, and I admire that. And so it's easy to get caught up in looking at somebody else's legacy and miss your own. But if you are a born again son of God, your legacy is not put on hold, and there is no secondary place. In fact, the whole reason that I wanted this triad here today is to show you how beautiful legacy is. And if maybe you missed a link, maybe somebody in your family didn't do their job right. And you know, I found out it's a whole lot easier to donate a liquid to an egg than it is to be a persistent father to a generation. And that's what I want to encourage you to do, is to try to capture this moment and then apply it to you. And how does it fit? And if someone before me missed it, I want to go back and make up for that. And guess what? You don't have to. Jesus has already made it up for you. And so, Marcus, maybe I jumped a little bit too far ahead to take it from there.
I think that the key that I learned from both my father and my grandfather is that joy is not circumstantial. The joy that you can have.
That's right. That's right.
It's not based on the outward. It's based on what's going on the inside.
That's right.
I would witness, as my grandpa was what most people would say, a busy man. He'd run there was a police scanner behind your recliner. I remember too, we'd listen late at night at what was going on, and if there was an emergency, Papa would be out the door to go, be there to be the chaplain for something going on. And I loved listening to that police scanner. And I remember funeral after funeral after funeral. I don't know how many, probably over 500 funerals you've done in your lifetime. But he is the pastor of that area of town that he's there. He's still known as that. And I remember seeing him be that busy. And this is the one thing that I learned, is that joy is not when you arrive. Joy is an on the way thing.
Right.
Joy is while you go. It's as you go. And I think that so many of the things that Jesus taught his disciples was as they were moving. It wasn't, we get there and then I'll teach you. It's as we go. And what I learned from my dad and my grandfather is that it was as they were doing the things that they do, they could still be a good father and grandfather to me. It was as we went, I could see the joy. And it was being that light as we went. So as you go, if there's one thing, if you're a father in the place, I would say that. Don't change the routine. Change the mindset as you go.
Yes. Right. Amen. Amen. Dad, got about 1 minute, 30 seconds to 1 minute. Look at these guys out here and tell them the keys to success as a father.
Main thing is have the Lord in your life first. Know what family prayer is in your home, and Bible readings and study, and teach your children how to pray by example, and keep the Lord and His goodness and His love in your heart for everybody.
Amen.
Thank all of you for loving our children.
Amen.
And being a part of the church family.
Genesis chapter 47, it'll be on the screen. Those of you that are home, please get your Bible. I'm reading from the New Living Translation. Then Joseph brought his father Jacob and presented him to Pharaoh. And Jacob blessed Pharaoh. How old are you? Pharaoh asked him. Jacob replied, I have traveled this earth for 130 hard years. Let me just stop here just a minute. How many of you know that when you ask an old person how old they are, you're going to get a whole lot more information? Because they know that years and life is not just measured in years, but it's measured in experiences. And you can't just ask how old without getting an answer of how much. How much are you? So when we ask an older person how old you are you, we're actually saying how much are you? What comes from you? What do you have to offer me? What can I learn from sitting here and Pharaoh being the king, being the leader, and here he is, Abraham or Isaac or Jacob in this case, is now saying, I want to bless you. You think I'm here so you can bless me, and rightfully so. He's in Egypt, and they're going to give him corn, and they're going to provide the natural needs. But Jacob said, I got something that you don't have. I got a spiritual blessing. And the Bible says that he blessed him. Verse 10, then Jacob blessed Pharaoh again before leaving his court. Let me just say something, guys. There is no secondary blessing when you're a son of God. You have the whole enchilada. In 1 Peter chapter 1, verses 4 through 6, and Peter says, we have a priceless inheritance. Everybody say an inheritance. Say inheritance. We have a priceless inheritance, an inheritance that is kept in heaven for you, pure and undefiled, beyond the reach of change and decay. And through your faith, God is protecting you by his power until you receive this salvation, which is ready to be revealed on the last day for all to see. Watch this, verse 6. So be truly glad, there is a wonderful joy ahead, even though you must endure many trials for a little while. Never forget that you're a son of God. Never forget that it doesn't matter what your daddy did or your daddy before you or your daddy's daddy before that. It doesn't matter. When Jesus redeemed you, he broke every curse. He broke the law of sin and death, and you became a child of God. And you have a right, you have a descending legacy that comes down not from your natural genealogy, but from your spiritual one, because you've been born again. So I want you to write this down. There's 3 things that happen in the blessing. And I'm sorry, Dads, he was supposed to stay up here to pray a prayer of blessing over you. There's 3 things that happen in the blessing. If you could get him back up here, we really want that. These guys want that. Maybe he had to go, and that's okay. When you got to go, you got to go. But there's 3 things that happen in the blessing. Write this down. Number 1, it helps create a culture of honor. It helps create a culture of honor. Honor up gets the honor on for you. You can't expect to be honored on if you don't honor up. And so 3 things happened when you're blessed. When Pharaoh got blessed by Isaac, or by Jacob, I'm going to get it right in a minute. He sent him an ability to create a culture of honor. Number 2, self-respect and self-confidence comes. There's something that happens on the inside of you when you know you've been blessed by someone, by a prayer, of a blessing, of an elder, or whatever. Something happens, there is a transfer, and you feel it in times of need. And when you're about to give in, there's something inside of you that says, wait a minute. You start having self-confidence because you remember a prayer blessing that was prayed over you. I can't tell you how many times I've been about to throw in the towel, and I remember a prayer that my dad or mother prayed over me, and I can still hear them in my ear. That's why your kids need to hear you pray, because you need to hear somebody pray over you. And if my dad doesn't make it back up here today, I'm going to pray for you, and I want you to hear this prayer that I pray. I don't want you to be praying for yourself. I want you to hear it, because in days of struggle, I want you to remember and digest that prayer of belief so you can have self-confidence. And thirdly, last but not least, there's a supernatural intervention when you receive a blessing. There's a supernatural intervention. Notice the word is always talking about in the Old Testament, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. In fact, Jacob is not hardly mentioned without Isaac and Abraham. Elijah and Elisha. All of those, there's something to be said about a generational transfer. And when that happens, it's the way God works. The fullness of the Godhead dwells in him, in Christ. The fullness of Father, Son, and Holy Spirit embedded into that Christ child, Jesus. Generational blessings. Generational is, you might say, a component of the eternal. So you can't talk about Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob without talking about the God that spoke to all three of them. Tell them I am that I am. Because the generational concept doesn't just leave you in one place, it transfers you all over the place. And the world gets blessed because it's not just about you, it's about a generation to come. And my dad's coming in the door, and if you guys would give him a microphone, he can just stand over here to the side. I want you to hear his voice, and then I will conclude. And I want you to think about those three things that I just told you, because it's so easy to get in your head, guys, that because somebody in your family goofed up, that it's thwarted your blessing. It's detoured it, and it'll never get to you, and that's not the case. Because God has his hand on you, and he has promised to bless you and to keep you. Just give Dad that microphone. Fathers, if you would, and we don't have time for you to come forward, I really wish we did. And they're going to sing to conclude here today. But fathers, if you would put your hand in your lap, turn your palms up, be a kid again almost. And I want you to imagine, as my dad prays, that everything that he says, I want you to take it into your whole system, mind, body, and spirit, and receive what he says. Receive it as a son of God. Dad, please pray.
Thank you, dear Lord, for your great presence that we feel in this service today. And thank you for all of our fathers, grandfathers, great-grandfathers, and on. Thank you for what they mean to us and what they mean to our children and our grandchildren, great-grandchildren. Thank you for the power that you place within them, the influence that you place within them to have either the right influence or the wrong influence on their grandchildren and their children. I pray that always a father will realize his responsibility to be a part of the teaching and training of their children as they should be. I pray that they'll understand that most of all, too, that fathers are examples, that their children and grandchildren look to them and look up to them, and they follow them whatever direction basically that they go. I pray for every father in this service today, and I pray for this church and this church family. I pray that you'll always give them direction to lead in the right direction. Always help them to be true God-fearing examples, because when it's all said and done, what is life without you?
Yes.
And may we enrich our lives by staying close to you. Bless this church and this church family. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.